What if I vented a little bit about a video game? A critically acclaimed MMORPG with a free draw. You already know the meme. Hi, my name is Rio, and this is Event Tea, where I spill the tea about topics that are important to me. Little disclaimer, everything stated in this video is my opinion. I'm allowed to have it. My therapist said so. Side note, this won't have the big budget editing skills because my editors haven't finished this part of Final Fantasy XIV yet. So, I'll start this out with saying making this kind of video is actually a little scary. People get extremely decisive about video games, and if you say one wrong thing, the internet immediately wants to cancel you. But I'm here to share my opinion because the devs are actually looking for our opinions, good or bad. They stated it to content creators at one of the media tours that they would be paying close attention to what people liked and what they didn't. Will they see this? Probably not, but hey, you never know. But I also feel like this is sort of a constructive discussion that needs to happen. Rather than saying, I didn't love the story with a wrinkled nose and nothing further, let me dive into Dawntrail and discuss the highs and lows, and maybe, in my opinion, what could have gone better. Fair warning, there are spoilers ahead. So let's start out with what kind of player I am when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV. I'm here for the story. I'm here for the view. I'm a happy casual that enjoys the tale being told. I enjoy building around the story with roleplay, and with my own thoughts and headcanons as to what my Warrior of Light would experience. I'm not here for the hard content, so I won't be getting into the actual gameplay, except this small statement. Overall, the combat was great, the music was a bop as usual, and the zones were gorgeously built. This! Oh, look at the tree! Look at it! The tree! Look at the tree with all the... So let's let the cat out of the bag, shall we? Wook I did enjoy her as a character. My community knows that I'm rather fussy when it comes to new characters, so it's hard to get them to stick to me. But Wook was a refreshing change of the uber silly Manderville and the dour emotionalist Stagehog Zero. Her boundless joy for exploration and learning was great to see, honestly. She's still a bit of a stage hog, but we'll get into that later. I do kind of feel like they did Wook dirty, though. They didn't give her growth proper time to breathe, and so it feels like she went from naive, unfit baby sister to the throne to forced badass leader in a single cutscene. Which, to some degree, they intended. Big tragedy forced it on her. But I heard an opinion recently that makes a lot of sense, and it resonated hard with something I hadn't been able to put my finger on. If they had cut out Zero's storyline and replaced it with us starting to mentor Wook sooner in Eorzea, it wouldn't feel so rushed. Especially in the last trial. I was caught up so hard in the moment in that trial, but in retrospect, it feels completely and utterly forced and disingenuous. Wook does not have the power level that she has in that trial. She should not be able to hold off Sphene. Nor should she be, like, all happy and, like, trying to sympathize and apologize for Sphene. None of it made sense to me at the end. But let's move on to the stage hog bit of Wook a little bit. It's not her fault, and she did do it more elegantly than Zero did, but in order to establish her character and make her the main focus of the MSQ, it required the Scions to be put in a corner. It actually became a bit of a meme about halfway through the MSQ to just have the Scions come on screen for 5 seconds only to exit stage left. Get your asses in here,
me.
Science.
Permission has been granted. You can come in.
Due to FanFest and the lead up to Dawntrail, I'd been led to believe there'd be more interaction with the Scions. It felt kinda bad to see our friend shoved off in a place of a newcomer, no matter how good of a character Wook is. It builds resentment towards that new character. I get maybe they're trying to wean us off the Scions, but they need to do it a lot more slowly. They can't just rip that band-aid off without some really good reason. And by really good reason, I mean they need a character death with a large build-up. Final Fantasy XIV devs, you took away Emet-Selch. You took away Hythlodaeus. You can pry Graha and Alize out of my cold, dead hands.
Do you remember what I said to you before all this?
It's a voiced cutscene?
That life is a series of journeys. That you must be true to yourself.
Wook isn't the only character that feels a bit rushed or forced. Bakuljaja's motive and redemption arc seems shallow. Even Zeralja's motive feels incredibly shallow. Yeah, you were passed over for Dawn Servant, even though your people said you were the special child.
He left me nothing. No throne. No legacy. Nothing. And so, I had nothing to leave you.
Guess what? We just did that arc 5 seconds ago with Bakuljaja. Get in line. Oh, and also, Bakuljaja didn't blow up an entire, or didn't intend to blow up an entire planet. He just wanted to, you know, screw things up a little bit. The only villain that had a semi-logical motive, in my opinion, was Sphene, but she was literally the collective memories she had for the love of her people. She was, in all essence, akin to a primal summoned to protect her people at all costs. It's a theme 14 has done really well in the past, and they did pretty well here again, but it all ended up being a letdown when they tried to force us to have sympathy through or for her through Wook.
This a rift in reality? Has she lost control of the power? Sphene, listen to me.
Did you really just Xenos that?
I understand. I do. And I know that you won't be swayed from your course. But if there's truly no other way to resolve this, then face me. Not as a machine, but as the real you.
They want us to compare her to Emet-Selch, who murdered thousands for memories of a people long gone. Sphene did the same, but at the end of Shadowbringers, we weren't forced by an outside character to have feelings for the villain. Some of us just developed that on our own. Onto the story itself rather than the individual characters, I think this MSQ suffered from pacing issues. Not heavily so, but there were definitely points where it felt like it was dragging a bit. Specifically 90 to 94, and then a few places post 95. I mean, did we really need to go to the Wild West town right after a giant story beat? Nope. Now, in regard to pacing, I don't think it was slow because there wasn't a lot of combat or character stress. I think it was because we had to sit through and learn about 4 new people all at once instead of, you know, having that peppered through everything else. And therein lies another problem. Square really pushed the learn about other cultures narrative down our throats. It's not a bad narrative, but we didn't need it repeated through every single zone. In the middle of a crisis? Nah, we need to stop and learn about the people so that we can find out the motives for the villain.
You know, we'd like to learn more about you.
About me?
To be frank, we're still not sure whether or not you're trustworthy. So, if you have a moment, would you show us around the district? That way, can get to know you better.
I like learning about new people and cultures, but I like the way they did it in the botany and mining quest better. It had a more organic feel to it rather than the way Wook has been telling us we need to do it over and over and over again in every zone. It feels forced. The tour so we could meet Svegan's people felt forced. Every scene where we had to try a new food felt forced. The food bringing people together is a trope that 14 has been pushing on us since Shadowbringers, by the way. Thank you for the sandwiches, Exarch. I ate every single one of them. But I'm still waiting on my tacos. Overall, I think the MSQ was good. It wasn't great, but it wasn't terrible. It wasn't, It wasn't Stormblood for me, which I absolutely hated. It could have been tidied up in places via pacing, we could have had a lot more diversity in our villain motives, and Wook's growth was way too quick. But I think overall, the only other negative thing I have to say is this question. Where do we go from here? They've built up Wook Lamont as a character, but now she's the new Hien. She's a ruler of her own nation that we got to be buddy-buddy with, but we can't take her on every adventure with us. She's not a new scion. But we've just spent so much time with her that now it feels kind of empty, looking towards the path ahead. Sure, we've had the storyline before of healing nations and befriending their leaders, but we always had the scions have more of a presence in doing so. Even Arenvale's off doing his own thing. Please, Arenvale, take me with you. I've got my backpack, I promise.
And what of you? Any new adventures in the offing?
Can I go with Arenvale? So, what path do we take now? Will we continue in the mentor role, going from new person to new person, or will we now shift back to a heavier scion territory of research and finding out about different reflections? I'm curious to see where this new path leads, but I won't lie and say I'm not hesitant that we may be leaving a lot of friends behind. And in the end, if I have to suffer through one more quest that's a major issue that's solved swiftly through the power of friendship and food, I may scream. Give me back my deep, heart-wrenching topics like the last zone in Dawntrail. Oh, and Square. You give me back that last zone without having to turn on New Game Plus, so I can have my roleplay and my G-Pose zone back without a lot of hassle. I'm Riao, this has been Venti. Have a good rest of your day, everybody.